Hello Leo friends, I'm Annie Botticelli and welcome to my Leo September 2021 Astrology Must Knows. Definitely go to anniehelpsyou.com. That is your one stop where you can see all of the free goodies, and there are many, that I make for you each month to help you make the most of the starry possibilities and step into your best and highest expression. If you would love to be an astrologer as your profession, if you want to stay at home with your family and be a homeschooling mom like I've been for well over a decade, you can use astrology to earn money and to use your passion for astrology to make it your profession. You can see my course, Becoming a Professional Astrologer Mastery course, at lumelife.com, L-U-M-E life.com. It's also a great course even if you want to just use it for your own self-development and to help your family and friends. So what's going on this month? We've got two admin notes for Leos to make the most of this video. This is for you if Leo is your sun or your rising or your moon or your Mercury or your Venus or your Mars or whatever Leo placement you watch for. This is part of your astrological truths. Okay, the next thing to know is that if you're a late degree Leo, so let's say your birthday is like a very late degree Leo, so your birthday is around August 15th or so through the rest of the sign, or your Leo degree is between 24 and 29, you definitely want to also watch my Virgo report. You very cuspy people have a more complex read and you will have more coverage about everything going on for you if you watch both reports. So, first major must know is the tides are coming in. This is a major alert because we've had months of clear open stars where the tides were going out. I always like to describe the direct or open stars, as I call them, when we don't have a personal planet retrograde, as being when the tide's going out, because it's very much energetically like that. So from around July 7th through around September 7th, we're just kind of eking out some last little bits here in the beginning of the month, where there's more free flow, where there's more momentum and more drive, and there are less impediments to progress. And you can very much think about it as putting your boat out to sea. If you're on a deserted island and you're trying to get off, when you put it when the tide is going out, it has a better chance of getting further without you paddling as much. Whereas now, after September 7th, the tides are coming in. If you then try to paddle your boat out and do all this stuff and make all these plans and put things out in the world, you're going to be battling against the tide, which is coming inwards and backwards, okay? So this is a major must know. Most of the month is covered in this Mercury retrograde energy. It gets stronger every day that we move past September 7th, and it also dominates October. Some wonderful things about Mercury retrograde. We have a lot of opportunities in this time, and you can actually see a ton more about the retrograde awesomeness for Mercury, Venus, and Mars in my book, Planetology. I go into lots of depth, but I'm going to give you some highlights here so that you can make the most of these yummy energies, because we always talk about the conflicts, the changes to plans, the uncertainty, the confusion that comes in, the not being able to plan very far or see very far ahead, and the appliances breaking and communications breaking down, and all of those things will be happening in September and October from the retrograde, and those are challenges. It's not very easy to plan. And you can be sure that things that seemed sure will be called into question. But we have a lot of great things that often go undiscussed, so I'm going to focus on those a little bit now. The first big must know is that this is a time when having a free flow with no agenda is very well indicated. We have a tendency to overschedule. I know for many people this is the beginning of a school year, or for your kids, it's hard to not overschedule. There are appointments and things that they need and things that you might have to do. But there are going to be some things that you can ask people to write you down in pencil. Pencil is your friend in the retrograde time. You don't want to write things down in pen because you're going to be whiteouting all over the place. Either you're not going to be able to show up for your commitments, or other people are not going to. So if you know this ahead of time, you can save frustration by knowing that plans are going to change and just writing things in pencil and not overscheduling. The biggest must know this month is to leave your schedule light, to make room for last minute magic. It's one of my favorite things about this time is that magical things can come in last minute. Things that you've been wanting forever, then all of a sudden it's like, hey, you want to go do this next week? Or you want to go do this weekend? Or here's your opportunity. You're like, wait, what? Where did that come from? So if you're super scheduled, you might have to say no to some major things that come in, or it's going to be a pain to try to clear your schedule to make room for them. So if you just schedule yourself light to begin with, you'll be ready for that last minute magic. Some people get concerned about traveling in Mercury retrograde, and you definitely have to pay more attention and know that there's going to be more lost luggage if you can avoid checking things, get your car checked especially well. There are things you have to watch out for with travel, but in general, it is very well indicated, and you might find yourself traveling near or far. And again, these trips could come all of a sudden. This is an amazing time for reorganizing and clearing and cleaning and, doing preemptive fall cleaning or spring for you all down under. Anything that uses those Virgo energies that also matches, by the way, the retrograde, and Mercury rules Virgo. So there's no surprise that there's a connection there. Something else that I really love about this time is when you're scheduling yourself lighter, you have more time for things like hobbies and fun and just pleasure-seeking activities. So anything like, even with learning, this is an amazing, amazing time for teaching, learning, educating, researching, studying. Your powers of focus will be stronger because of the Virgo placements, and this energy really lends itself to get back into something that you were interested in, or to finally, take a class about something that you've been wanting to do. Now, I have a little checklist to help you make your decisions in the retrograde, because there are some things that aren't the best things to do, and there are things that are fine. So, and again, I go into a massive amount of detail about this in my book, Planetology, but I'm going to give you some tidbits here so that you can use this right away. If you have a long-term commitment, something that is a detailed legal agreement, something that has no flexibility, something that is, really high stakes, those are not the things that you want to be doing now. If you can put those off until at least towards the end of October, beginning of November, you're going to have much better clarity and much better understanding of what you're getting yourself into. Okay, because things change rapidly over these retrograde times, and information you have now might be obsolete in a week. So if you can avoid those high stakes, long-term, not flexible things, you will be better off. But what it does favor is short-term, flexible, or low stakes things. And if it's any one of those, if you can check off any one of those, then it's fine. So for instance, low stakes means you suddenly want to spruce up. You don't want to spend a bundle on a big home remodel now, but you want to spend a little bit of money that's low stakes for you. If you change your mind about things, it's no big deal. It's perfect for that. Low stakes, check. If it's something that's short term, let's say you want to take a course or make a commitment or get into a lease and it's month to month or has high flexibility, fine. It honors the either short term or the flexible. And remember, you only need one of those check marks for it to be good for the retrograde. Let's say you want to take a course, but it's longer term, but there's flexibility in it. Like for instance, it's go at your own pace. You can study when you want to, join when you want to, table it when you want to. So even if it is a higher stakes or even if it is a longer term, if you've got that flexibility there, then it satisfies the requirement. So those are all things to help you make the most of these energies. Something else that's a must know for this time is it's amazing for reconnecting with people and going back to places you've been or doing things you've done before. The past is really, really, really coming up at this time. And you'll have blasts from the past. Friends and family will come in. If you have a nudge to call somebody or a business contact that someone connected you with, you'll very likely find a lot of gold in those relationships. And something else that's a must know for this time that I love about the retrogrades, that sometimes it's a little bit hard to get into this groove, especially for Leos, because Leos are very, and like me, I'm a fire sign too, we're very active and dynamic and we like to get things done and go do stuff and make things happen. But this time is a time when we're being right here and right now. You're not going to be able to have that clarity and that oomph for long-term planning the way that you might want it. So if you just accept that and just kind of suspend your big strategies that you're committing to, suspend your planning for this time and in the future, and just kind of, again, make room for last-minute magic, but also just be right here and right now. A lot of things pop up that require attention, like appliances breaking, phones, you have to take your car in, like things that are right close to you, plus your relationships, because we do have a lot of energy in Libra. We're going to look at this closer here soon, but we've got relationship things that are coming up. Anything that's been swept under the rug is the rug gets pulled up in the retrograde and everything goes flying around. So if you have a dynamic in your relationship that is a problem and then it kind of settles back down when it's not retrograde, then it comes back up in retrograde, you want to leave room for dealing with those things. You might have to be having long, annoying discussions with people trying to clear things up, but you will be able to get to more clarity and more solutions. And if you have to make a decision about a relationship or something else long term, it might not be the best time to make the final decision, as long as you're not in danger, or as long as you don't have intuitive guidance otherwise. Making your big decisions like a divorce or like something very permanent, you might have better energy and clarity towards the end of October into November than you will in September. This is a time for gathering information. It's also a time for being the spider, where you're hanging out near your web and you deal with the food that comes to you instead of going out and trying to build all these webs and do all this stuff and go out and get stuff. Stuff is going to come right to you, and when you're right here, right now, you can snap it up. Snap up the opportunities that are right in front of you. Okay, so a couple of other must-knows. One is that we are still in a resting month between the eclipse seasons, and this is very notable because we spend about 6 months of the year in an eclipse season, about 3 months at a time. So August and September are our resting months between the May-June eclipses, and then it filtered into kind of July was eclipse season, and then October, November, December is going to be eclipse season again. And this is going to be a big set because not only are we wrapping up the Sagittarius-Gemini eclipse cycle, so things that have been in movement since like spring or fall for you all down under of 2020 are going to get a big wrap up. Let's hope that some coronavirus stuff in there is part of that wrap up, right? But in any case, that's going to be getting wrapped up, and we're going to start a new Taurus-Scorpio eclipse cycle. And you'll start to be seeing those changes once we get into October, because the eclipses are in November and December, but 4 to 6 weeks before the eclipses starts that active eclipse season. And so now in September and also in August, we're in this little resting period where we're integrating from the changes that happened already. And we're preparing for the big wrap up and the new changes and the new themes that are going to be coming. Okay, so I have had a lot of requests for bringing back the visuals of the charts. I can't do it every month. I can't commit to that, but I did see an opening where I had a little extra time when I'm recording this particular set of horoscopes, which, by the way, you're going to be getting super early because I'm traveling for the summer and I needed to do them early. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to do them at all because of the nature of the travel. But I am going to bring the visuals back. So let's take a look here. This may not be every month, but it is going to be this month, okay? So now let's talk about more must-knows. What are we looking at here? We're looking at a chart. This happens to be the early degree Leo chart, but everything I'm going to talk about is going to be true for all early, middle, and late degree placements. And if it's not, I will tell you otherwise, and I'll show you the differences in those other charts. We want to differentiate if you're not one of my long-term people that know what I'm talking about when I use these terms. Early degree Leos are basically July born, or if you're watching for one of those other Leo placements, yummy, luscious, fiery Leo placements, 0 to 9 degrees. Early, when I talk about that, that's you all in that designation. Sometimes I'll say July born, or, and that's you guys in the early sector. For the August born, that is the middle degree and the late degree placements, okay? And middle is around August 1st through 10th, or 10 to 19 degrees. These dates and degrees could toggle a little bit depending on the exact day that the sun went into Leo in the year you were born, because it doesn't go into Leo on the same day every year. So that makes things a little complicated. So these are our ranges. And if you run a free birth chart online, you'll have a better idea of where you are in there. But late degree placements are basically like August 11th through the rest of the sign, or 20 to 29 degree placements, okay? So that is setting the stage here. Now, what we're looking at is a chart. A chart is a snapshot of where all the stars were at that time in that location. And I'm just giving you a couple of little tidbits to orient you. Sometimes when people look at charts, like when I first looked at a chart, I wanted to run screaming. And in fact, I may have actually, kiddingly ran screaming because it can look a little overwhelming. But when you understand what you're looking at, it's not as bad. So this is the horizon line. This is the east and this is the west. So essentially, everything that's up here, like on this particular day, September 1st, 4:31 a.m. in Sarasota, the moon will be visible in the sky because this is above the horizon. If the moon were down here, that means it would have set and you didn't see it in the sky. So all these planets you can see either with a telescope or with the naked eye are above the horizon. These are below the horizon, okay? So it is actually a snapshot. So if someone was born on this day at this time, this would be their birth chart. This is where all the planets were when they were born, and they have mathematical relationships between them, which flavor all of the experience. Now, this rising sign point, this is the rising. Why is it called the rising? Because that's where the horizon point where the sun rises in the east, okay? And so when we're running different charts, we're putting different placements on the rising sign. That's why I always recommend, if you know your rising sign and your sun sign, to watch both charts because each of them is a different viewpoint. Whatever is on the horizon line is the viewpoint. It's the glasses that you put on. It's the perspective that you're looking through. And so when we're running a Leo chart, this is actually a Leo ascendant chart. It's not your natal chart. If you run your natal chart, your natal sign will be on this ascendant point, and that will give you a different viewpoint. But they're still part of your bigger astrological picture. For the ease of using astrology in the public, in the general public, it gets simplified quite a bit. But I like to give people credit for the possibility that we don't have to make things as simple, and I can share with you the beautiful layers of truth, because astrology is life, and life is everything that's in the universe, and we are representatives of the universe that have all the complexity of the universe within us. It's not as easy as just your sun sign or one chart, right? Okay, so now that we have that beautiful background, let's talk a little bit about what we're looking at here. The first thing we want to note is that, and again, everything I say, even though this is the early chart, is going to be true for all of you unless I differentiate out, in which case I'll show you. So you see there's a lot of energy here in the second and third houses. Houses, these little, pie pieces, I like to call them, are fields of experience we have as humans. And as the planets move through the houses, they bring attention to that area of life. Okay, so you can see the second and third house, we'll explain what that is in a minute, is very lit up for Leos. Now what happens, this is for the early degree August, or July born. When we go into August, this is still true. Okay, middle degree people, you can see your second and third houses are still full. Sorry, this chart is a little smaller here. Late degree friends, you can see your second house is full. There's some stuff starting to go in your third house. But as the month progresses, this third house is going to get a little more full. And that's one of the things to always know about late degrees, is that it takes a little longer for things to get in to the places where they already are for the earlier placements. But it will happen. It will just be staggered throughout the month. Okay, so what does all of this mean? The first thing is that Virgo placements at some point are going to highlight for all of you your money sector. And that brings focus on income. It can also bring more money. It can bring, since it's in a retrograde, it can bring money from the past. Like let's say somebody owes you money. You might have money show up, a tax credit or a refund from the government, or, anything where somebody owed you money and they give it to you. People can pay an invoice and then you're like, wow, you're in the money. And this can also have to do with budgeting. These are Virgo placements, so you might be having a critical eye go to your finances. You might be trying to figure something out to make a big purchase. You might be making purchases. This time is not always best for big purchases. You have to follow your flow. There could be exceptions, but it is a good time to prepare for a bigger purchase towards the end of October into November, like finding out from a lender what you need to qualify, finding out what you need to improve your credit in order to make a big purchase. But this is very much a material house, and material is anything from like, expensive luxury items down to earth material, like living more sustainably. So asking the question about the sustainability of your money, your finances, your life, your savings, your income are all going to be front and center. It's a great time to make a budget, and it's a great time to make a money plan. Now the third house has to do with your short distance travel, your cars, your bikes, anything you use to travel. And it also has to do with writing projects and other sorts of expression-based projects, and anything having to do with your siblings or aunts or uncles, basically people that aren't your parents or kids. All of those relatives are in here. So you might find that you're seeing relatives, you're hearing from them, something notable is going on, you're back in touch with them, and this is a really nice time to catch up with people like that. And writing is very well indicated because, as we talked about before, Mercury's in retrograde, and you might be finishing up old projects, getting ready to bring them out into the world, and that opening time will be coming soon. Now we're going to add some layers into this. This is what I just love about the complexity of astrology. So we've got the planets in Virgo, but then let's add a layer. We also are going to have a bunch of trines with these outer planets. Pluto, heavy hitter. Saturn, very big guy. Jupiter, biggest expander, biggest bringer of growth, right? So these outer planets are going to get trines, the most favorable aspect in all of astrology, from the Sun and Mars, bam, going to kiss Pluto. Mercury and Venus, bam, going to kiss Jupiter, and this Mercury kiss is going to happen twice. It's going to happen this month, then it's going to happen again in November because it's going to retrograde and then go back and do it again. Venus already had its kiss with Saturn last month, but Venus is going to kiss Jupiter as well. So that means that these houses that we've already spoken about, they're highlighted for the reason that we spoke about before, they're the presence of the planets. But now there's extra blessings that can come in those areas because of the kiss with the outer planets. And this can also make things more long-term. When we're looking at these short-term movements of these planets, we're looking at things that pass quickly. The sun will breeze through a house, in 30 days. And, the planets move through rather quickly. And so it brings the themes and the events in there into kind of like not very consequential, just like short-term types of things. But once they lock in into a mathematical configuration with an outer planet, that brings the chance for very permanent, very long-term, very major things to occur. And in this case, they would be very positive because of the sweet aspects. So what else is highlighted here? And now let's look at the multiple charts for this to see the other fields of experience brought in by these. Okay, so we know that the 6th house is going to be highlighted for early. All right, we're in the middle there. Okay, so for early degree, we've got the 6th house and 7th house highlighted from these aspects. Middle degree, we have the 6th and 7th houses aspected. And for the late degree, we have the 6th and 7th houses, but also a little bit of the 5th with these kisses, okay? So let's talk about what that means. What that means is that every Leo's relationship sector has a chance for blessings to come in one way or more from these trines. Okay, so permanent, positive things gelling that you've been working on for a while. Very important unions. Now, this isn't a retrograde, so we're not going out to try to make something happen, but things could come to you. And that's, you have wove your web and now you're hanging out and now these things can come to you. So you might get good partnership news, good relationship news, good client news. A client could come back from the past and bring a bundle of money. Okay, so you see the money sector and the relationship sector. Maybe your spouse makes a bunch of money and then that supports your money sector, or maybe you make a bunch of money that can support something that your spouse is doing or something that you want to do together. So that's how these layers work. We just layer and layer and layer. Then we layer the energy of the personalities of the planets. Jupiter expands, brings optimism, brings growth. Saturn brings long-term things and hard work recognized or reaping rewards from hard work. Pluto brings powerful transformation that goes from the inner depths into the outer world. And you've got all that going on too, okay? So then we've got the 6th house being aspected for everybody as well. And this is bringing in health, breakthroughs, health information that can result in a breakthrough later, new diets, new regimens, things like that really, really click. Or, since it's the retrograde, you going back to something that worked. Let's say that you always go back to the blood type diet and that works for you. I always find that for myself, that no matter how I deviate and eat different things, what my body winds up liking is those that are in sync with my blood type. And so that's something that's like an old remembrance. for me. So for you as well, you might have done something. Think back to what did well for your health, for your stress management, for your diet, for your organization of your office, for your business, because this is an employment house. This rules your experience at work, in your workplace, your office dynamics, your work dynamics. If you're self-employed, it rules your business space. Think back to things that you did before, clients you had before, people within the company that you connected with before. If you're trying to get a job, people in the industry that you know. Going back to these places can bring amazing rewards at this time. When we look at the late degree chart, we're also going to bring in some influence from this 5th house with these energies. And so I just want to add that to your profile. Again, this is around August 11th through the rest of the sign. You'll be feeling some of the energies here as well. You're not going to not feel them in the other places. This is just in addition to. So 5th house has to do with your romance, your true love, children, creative projects, and your leadership and people recognizing you for your work. So something big could happen there. And you can see in the late degree chart, we additionally have more energy in the 1st house, which does often have to do with recognition. And this is another physical body house. So we've had some long-term storylines for Leos with these transits through the 6th house. And now we've got some short-term focus between August and September for all Leos about your physical body and coming to terms with, enjoying your body, loving your body, giving your body what it needs, and the ways that you can do that. One other thing I want to point out in this chart, and this is really fun to be able to have the visual for this. Gosh, it gets so messy when I draw on there like that. Sorry, just give me a second to get all this off here. Okay, let's talk about Jupiter for a second. Jupiter has been moving through Aquarius, and Aquarius rules the 7th house of Leo. So that means for the whole year, Jupiter's been working this 7th house. And this is actually true for all early, middle, and late degree placements. But as you look at what happens to Jupiter, here it is for early. See how it jumps back for middle? And it jumps back even further for late. Sorry, I don't know what happened. It was a Mercury retrograde snafu. This chart is smaller, so it's a little bit harder to see the differences. But so it's very close to the 6th house here. And for many of you late degree friends, you actually still have Jupiter working over 6th house ground while it's also influencing your 7th house. So all Leos have expansion and growth opportunities in their relationship space, their clients, their romantic relationships, all of that. But those of you in the later sector, you still have Jupiter working in this health and, all those things we talked about, the business, the self-employment. So you have an additional piece there. I highly recommend all of you watch my Jupiter in Aquarius for Leo video. And you can search organically for Jupiter in Aquarius for Leo, or you can go to my homepage, Annie Botticelli, and look at my Jupiter playlist. I go into lots of detail about the many ways you can see Jupiter working and also the big dates to note, because Aquarius is in opposition to Leo. That's a 180-degree angle, and that's a very critical angle. So this has been a very powerful time for Leo placements as Jupiter is trying to push and pull, stopping some expansion before it got out of control, getting some other things going, planting seeds for future expansion. And I have the exact dates of when your Leo placement will be in this exact opposition with Jupiter throughout 2021 in that Jupiter in Aquarius for Leo video, which will be true for all of your placements. I additionally advise anybody from around August 11th through the rest of the sign to watch Jupiter in Aquarius for Virgo. Okay, so late degree friends, that will speak to this extra emphasis still in the 6th house, which is happening simultaneously with this energy in the 7th. Remember that when a planet is doing its thing, there's an orb of energy around it. It's not just like I'm here and I'm doing this here. It's kind of like an aura or big clothing or something where, you're walking through and you're not just in this space, it's also all around. And the further the planet is out, the more wide its orb is. So that's why it can be influencing in one section at the same time as influencing in another section. And that's what's going on for the late degree friends, 20 to 29 degrees, August 11th on. Also watch Jupiter in Aquarius for Virgo to get all the information about that. A couple of other must-knows here before we end is, one is that we have way more salty aspects than sweet ones this month. And if you want a full list of all of the aspects, all of the what they are, the dates, the sweet and salty list, other details about the month delivered into your inbox 1 month early, you definitely want to sign up for my free email newsletter at anniehelpsyou.com. I only send out like around 3 emails a month that are very content rich. So when you sign up for the email list, you're not signing up for an annoying ordeal of getting emails all the time. But it will give you those sweet and salty dates. And we do have many more salty ones this month. So what that's going to mean doesn't have to be bad. You don't have to fear it, but you're going to feel it. And I want you to know that. It's going to be like you're cruising along, road bump, cruising along, road bump, a speed bump or something. So it's like trying to get yourself, if you're trying to go fast this month, you're going to have a lot of speed bumps to stop you, which brings us back to savoring the moment and all the other things we talked about there. Also remember about, and I think we covered pretty well, the Mercury retrograde challenges, but just sort of use the checklists that I gave you as far as making decisions about what to commit to or interface with at the Mercury retrograde time, which spans September and October. Okay, so I've given you lots of information about the energies at work and play this month to help you make the most of the potentials. If you'd like even more information, go to anniehelpsyou.com. That is the interface for all of the free goodies that I make for you each month. Also, if you would like to be an astrologer as your profession, if you're a homeschooling parent, if you want to stay working from home, if you want to make your own hours and earn money from your love for astrology, I can help you do that. Check out my Becoming a Professional Astrologer Mastery course at lumelife.com, L-U-M-E, life.com. This course is great for you even if you don't want to do this work as your profession. If you just want to help yourself, your own self-development, help your family and friends, you can learn everything you need to know in that course at lumelife.com. Also, I have lots of free courses at that site, so you can check out all of more free goodies there. I hope you have a wonderful month, and I'll see you next month. Bye!